Hailey with Team Innova.
And I'm Ellen Widboom, also with Team Innova.
Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you watching the women's coverage. So we've got the round 1, back 9 here. Hailey King is leading us off, currently in the lead. We've got Rebecca, myself, Holly Finley, and Paige Pierce on the card. So we're starting off at hole 12, even though it's called the back 9. Don't overthink the numbers. So this is a long one. It's a par 4, but it is, again, birdieable for our field. So you start the shot at the top of the hill, hopefully land anywhere in the gap here and give yourself an easy upshot for a 3. The approach is actually really difficult. You know, if you don't land in the center, even if you do land in the center, I think the approach is really the hardest part of this hole.
I would agree. It's almost like, I know last year the women played from the shorter tee pad across the road, and it was almost how your upshot would be if that's the landing zone you're going for. This actually has a double mando. You have to go left of the tree from the tee, and then left of the tree down by the road, so you can't take that huge hyzer shot and play it off of the road. So yes, definitely want to get it to the gap and have a look for the birdie. And it was windy. You can see the tree branches moving. It switched from a headwind to a tailwind on us in a matter of like 30 seconds when we teed off. Oh, man. The drop with the wind.
Right?
It's so insane to see that.
So everyone scooted a little bit left. I did land in the middle here, and as I mentioned on the other coverage, I've been working on my sidearm approaches.
That looked great.
I hit the gap. It was a little weak. I didn't give it enough juice, but it felt good to be accurate about it. So, you know, I have a long look at putt, and you can see if you don't land in the center how difficult it is. I mean, look at that. Come
Wow.
on. You just are over here shooting at tiny gaps, basically.
Yeah, those, I guess are they fir trees? Some type of juniper, maybe? They are so difficult to get through between the way that the branches are and the way that the leaves or the needles are. You don't want to be anywhere around them.
You can say that again.
You don't want to be anywhere. Great upshot by Hailey.
One time.
Oh, I love the lean. I love the body language on that one. For birdie, right?
Yeah.
Man, I wanted that one for you.
Yeah. It felt good to have a nice, accurate drive and then, you know, working on my sidearm ups. Paige, woo, scooting it in left side.
All right.
Across the street is an establishment that disc golfers like to visit called Two Extremes, and there is a small crowd over there cheering us on, especially for Hailey. She's a local here. She lives in the area of the courses, so there's a lot of hometown folks out cheering for Hailey, and that's always a great thing to see.
You kind of see her shaking her head as she was walking off and smiling. They were probably razzing her and giving her props.
Yeah. Okay, hole 13. This is a really fun hole. I like to aim right up there in the shadows at the gap. It can be really difficult if you flare out early on the left. It is muddy. It is rooty.
It's jail.
It's jail, and you don't want to be there. So, you know, just land anywhere in the open, even on the right a little bit isn't bad. Does this set up well for your sidearm?
It really does, because I want to be on the right side. Anything that gets me over there, usually throw a destroyer, just flex it, get it over on the right. I don't go for the birdie on this one. I go for a look at par, and I'm happy with that if it's over, like you said, over there, kind of in the sunlight shadow area.
I'm with you. I mean, if I make it up there in the circle, yeah, I'm going to go for the putt. But in theory, I'm actually just really happy with the 3 here. I think this is one of those holes where if you try too hard, you could get yourself in trouble. Just flexing a boss up there, hoping to land anywhere in the shadows.
I think this would be another neat one if somehow, and I'm not really sure where the pin locations are, but to move it slightly back into the woods and up to the left and make it a par 4. I think it would play really well for at least the FPO field for sure. Because I know the men's field are probably getting it through that gap most of the time.
Paige's feet, you could see, like, slipped on the tee pad there, which sort of threw the line off a bit. But again, most of us are playing this for a 3, so no big deal for her. Just pitch it up there and get a par and move along.
Have you ever had the opportunity, have you played, is it the 26 hole layout? Is that how many holes are there?
Yeah, I think 26 or 27. Over the years, I've played this event several different times, and I've played a random number of holes. I want to say 21, 23, 24.
Because last year it was 23?
Yeah, I can't remember, but it was in the
20s.
It was. Yeah, so this might be the first year I've ever only played 18 at Silver Creek, which is, I mean, I enjoyed it.
I did too. I feel like it was probably right around the same amount of like distance, and they just took out a few of the wooded holes. I think they were actually pretty short. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the 18, and I really enjoyed playing from the longer tee pads on the ones that we played the short ones last year. I think it was fair. I will say that. I think it was definitely reachable for the FPO field.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So pars all around, and we're happy about that. So as we walk to the next hole, we've had a lot of rain this week, and the ground is really squishy, so we can't take the traditional path. We're actually backtracking through the fairway. So here we are, hole 14. This is another hole where I feel like if you try too hard to try to make it too far, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. So if you can see the short pin here as the drone flies over it, just land anywhere near that and then pitch your putter up there.
That's
take
what I
a
aim
3
for.
and
Yep.
go to the next one.
Yep, it plays along the creek to the left, so if you get a tree kick or saw it off too early, you might be wet, and then actually right past the basket where you can see the spectators down there, there is an OB line where there's a road. Hangs it out a little far right, but that's got a nice line to kick back, and just like you said, aim for the short pin position.
Didn't quite flex back, but that's fine. You know, I can see the basket. Not pinched under some bushes. A little bit low from Rebecca, but there's nothing wrong with being in the middle. I'll take that any day.
Mm-hmm. This is the third most difficult hole. And like I said, the lighthouse hole was the only one that averaged under par, so just getting these trees, and that was a great drive. That is ideal. She'll actually have probably a jump putt.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a jump putt for Paige.
That looks like a good line.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if that kick was a happy kick from her or she was just trying to like boot the disc back up further towards the basket.
Got a little bit of an Annie angle, so I opt for my old school Mako just to get that nice glide up to the basket.
I like it.
Touch up from Hailey.
For the birdie. She wanted that one. I think she wants all of them, but she really looked like she wanted that one.
In your opinion, do you find that the basket opening from the top of the basket to the top of the cage is shorter, or does it just appear that way because the basket is deeper?
I mean, I think there are regulations for baskets. That's correct, right? But that basket throws you because it is so, I don't know the names of the basket, but yes, it definitely looks shorter because of how deep that basket.
And I wonder if that's
is
an illusion or it really is a smaller,
I never measured
chain
but
exposure. Do you know what I mean? Like opening.
Well, comment down below if you all have any opinions or knowledge about basket heights and chains.
Inform us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's just like I figure it out myself. I could not come up with anything that matched it. Welcome back to the Silver Cup coverage. We are at hole 15, which is a fun hole. You get to throw up the hill. There is a squishy zone, as you can see there. It's sort of taped off. But as long as you land anywhere in the middle, you have a chance at a 3. And you know what? I'd say that this is a difficult par 3 for the women. The second shot, even though it's short, requires some shaping. And you're throwing uphill, so, you know, it's just a lot of things combined. How did you do on this hole?
I play the forehand, just get it over the squishy zone, and then I've been working on a flick putter shot, and I'll just get it up there somewhere near the basket and have a putt for 3. It's so uphill. This is kind of deceiving. It doesn't really look like it. It's a pretty good grade. Now, they changed the basket position from last year. It used to be tucked back in the woods. Was it a par 4?
I feel like it was.
I think it was a par 4 just because it was tucked in the woods, surrounded by trees, and if you ran the putt, you had the potential of rolling down the hill behind it.
Yeah, okay.
I really liked that position. It was super challenging. This one plays well just for flow, I guess, and it's definitely a par 3. I'm not really sure. I don't think any of the FPO birdied it yesterday. For this round.
I think personally it would be fun to have the basket in the back top position and make this a 4.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it last year because you couldn't see the basket off the tee, and it really kind of challenged you off the tee to, if you wanted to go for it, to get further out there by the road to have a look at the basket, which would in turn open it up for more air possibly. So yeah, it was a fun hole last year, still a fun hole this year. And as you can see, the woods still come into play.
A little bit of scramble action going on from Paige there. Gonna go get that dust bag for my hands and see if it helps with the putting.
It was very humid.
I'll be back
warm
later
outside.
with dusty hands.
Now, what's your go-to for keeping your hands dry?
You know, I actually don't normally have a problem with that, but this summer, you know, I played the Dynamic Disc Open and then the Preserve, and it was in the high 90s and very humid.
Very
and
humid.
I had a case of the sticky hands. So what's my go-to? Honey, I'm still learning. I don't know. Dust off the ground, the climber's chalk, the birdie bag sawdust stuff. I mean, I'm trying it all.
Okay,
You know?
right on.
Couple bogeys, couple pars. On to the next.
There you go.
Hole 16 is really fun. This Mando on the left actually makes the hole pretty difficult.
It is a tight gap off of the tee.
I'm telling you, and it's breezy there. So if you misfire at all, you're just gonna your disc just sucks left. It's like a vortex over there. So for me, I consciously have to think about the Anheuser angle when I'm throwing my drive. Otherwise, I'm not even gonna make the Mando. Are you doing like a flex shot here?
I throw a flick roller, actually.
Wow.
That is the only way that I have found that I get through that. See, that gap, it's a lot more narrow than the camera is actually showing you. If the camera were actually right behind the tee pad, you can barely see the fairway. So, yeah, I'm going to throw a flick roller. I actually threw a flick roller, and it rolled all the way straight out of bounds.
You went all the way to the road?
I went all the way to the road.
Oh my gosh.
The spotter ran back and gave me the X, and I was like, how's that possible? But I made it through the gap. I made the Mando.
Yeah. That thing got legs.
Oh, man. Sidewinder, I'm telling you. That thing will go for days. And now, did you kick in the woods, or are you on the outside?
I'm on the outside there, which I can't tell because it's blind from the tee where I landed. Paige opting for the only roller on the card.
Great shot.
And we heard the crowd down there hooping and hollering, so we knew it was a good one.
Backhand roller. Wow. That was a great shot. That's the first time I've ever seen FPO card throw a backhand roller.
So Rebecca faded over into that left area we discussed earlier. You can see it's not a place you really want to be. But she made the best of it, got out to the opening.
I think for this one, if you make the Mando, regardless if you're in the woods, I'm not going to say it's easy to save par, but it's very doable. Even if you were just to pitch out, just make sure you pitch out to the right spot. So, because this gap that you just threw is pretty wide open.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying not to overpower it, so I go out of bounds and hopefully land close and maybe get a birdie look. This is also a big action zone. It's where people drive in and out of the park. So, you know, it adds some elements to your game of trying to not pay attention to the moving vehicles or, you know, the course volunteer down there trying to direct the vehicles, and then you got spectators. So sometimes it's a bit of a hot zone. Hailey going for her long par putt.
As you can see, the traffic is backed up waiting for you to putt, which is almost, I mean, sometimes that's more of a distraction because they're all just kind of milling around down there, rather if the spotter was just to, like, let them go through.
And we actually did have a bit of waiting around, sending trucks back and forth. You know, an Army vehicle drove through, people leaving the course and people coming.
Goodness.
Well, Paige was still contending with these vehicles, which I'm not sure you can hear or see, but it was a challenge.
I bet.
So,
yeah, that's right, because there's like an Army headquarters or some type of reserve base.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you just don't know what's the best thing. Do you just putt with all the vehicles there, with the engines going, or do you make them drive through? You know, it's just challenges of playing in a public park like this. Hailey tapping in for the par putt.
Yep, just one birdie on the day for this one, and shout out to Deanne Carey for the lone birdie.
She actually showed me her video evidence of the birdie.
Oh, really?
She did a sidearm upshot, and she was really proud of it. So
go Deanne.
Yeah.
Paige taking the only bogey on that hole, but I'm sure she'll bounce back. So these holes were actually added day of.
Yeah. So as Ellen mentioned in round one, if you've watched that already, they removed some of the holes due to the major storms we had here. Some of the wooded holes were a little bit lower and underwater. So we've added these last minute, 16A. The basket you see here is not the one we're playing. It's actually a little bit further down to the right. This is a very hard hole because right off the tee is this OB on the left that is nobody's friend. So you have to throw your disc immediately out of bounds and, you know, hope you come back in bounds. Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. It kind of looked like it hit him, didn't it?
It did look like it hit him.
I'll have to ask him about that.
Danger zone over there. So yeah, this is actually the most difficult hole of the day for the FPO field. And like you said, you got to throw over that OB. There's a small gap down to the right of the trees, but it doesn't really play well because of the way that the hill is slanted. It's almost forcing you to throw straight into the ground.
It's so low that I don't think it's worth going there because you can barely get like 200 feet if you try to throw that
Unless
gap.
you have some type of roller game that is just spot on. Yeah, the gap you're trying to hit is out there to the left.
I think it's also was one of the most difficult holes because the majority of the FPO field and probably the men played it blind. We weren't even supposed to play this hole. So me personally, I walk up that moment of the tournament and I haven't thrown that hole since last summer when you and I played the Silver Cup.
Right. And
so
I think it was actually a par 4.
It was.
I'm not sure for everybody or just the FPO
for the
field.
women.
For the women, it was
sure.
a par 4. It is very difficult to get up and down.
I think it's a fun hole though because it really makes you nervous right when you step up to the tee. You're like overthinking the OB. And then when the shot lands inbound, it's almost like a small victory of its own.
Right. And you're like, oh, wait, I got to make another shot after this one.
Yes, that felt so good.
Hailey with a great sidearm. That looks so smooth. It's like puts her in circle 1. What do you like better? You like the whiskers or lines, circles drawn on the ground? You have a
Or the
preference?
flags.
Ooh, or the flags.
You know, I'm not really sure. I think I'm liking the whiskers the best.
Yeah, I think because you can even mow over the whiskers sometimes, and it doesn't really affect them just because of the material that they are, and then the rain's not going to wash them away. They're pretty visible, but they're not in the way. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I really do like the whiskers. That's fun to say too. Whiskers. What whiskers?
Which whiskers do you like?
Nice putt from Paige.
So trying to clean up my putt here, overthrew it a little bit. Luckily, the basket decided to keep it. So Ellen and I are thinking about a commentary duo name. So we've come up with a few ideas. A combination of our first names, which is Holland. Or a combination of our last names, Finley and Widboom, which is Finboom.
Finboom.
So comment below what you think about our commentary duo name, or if you have a better one, let us know. We are open to hearing your ideas. 16B, this is a birdie hole. I feel like it's one of those muskets they added. It's another temp hole put in at the last minute due to the rained out holes. Again, most of us played this hole blind. I haven't thrown it since last summer.
Same here.
But, you know, it's just a straight ahead shot. It's pretty basic. I don't really feel like it needs a lot of practice unless you're worried about fading left or something.
Right. I think the thing with the players on my card, at least, we were checking the wind. As you can see, the flag right there it's definitely a left to right wind. And kind of we had questions about the OB. Again, that's the OB on the left. It's OB long, and then that parking lot over to the right, if you choose to take that hyzer shot towards the flagpole, could get away from you. Actually, one of the players on our card went over the parking lot, hit the parking lot, skipped all the way across, and was safe.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So not a terrible play, just probably not the one that you want to risk going out of bounds.
And you can see the way Rebecca's shot looked like it was going right at the basket, but because of the slope, it is dangerous there. You really, I feel like, want to keep, I like my shot a little bit lower, you know, to reduce that risk of scooting down the hill.
Yeah. This definitely, that was a great shot. This definitely plays well for a sidearm player, just hanging out over the OB and play the hill, essentially. Play the slope of the hill. Or throw something understable on an anhyzer line. That looks great.
Got a little road runner up there. You know, I'm obviously, as you can see, playing with Paige, and I think she threw a putter before I did. So, you know, sometimes you step up and you're like, wow, she threw a putter, I'm throwing a driver, is this the right thing to do? But you just got to remember to stick to your own game plan and what works best for you. It's easy to get distracted with, you know, what other people are doing.
It is. They say the game's 90% mental. That's what I've heard.
Here in the background, I saw something weird red moving around, and I thought, I'm just going to ignore it. It's no big deal. But it was Rebecca hiding behind the bush.
Oh, no.
So I kind of wish I would have said something like, I can see you're red. But, you know, it is what it is. Didn't get the birdie on that one, but
You'll get it tomorrow.
it was a good drive. Paige with the only birdie in our group. She took that, like, right line and let the putter hyzer in, which I really liked that play.
I am glad they added those 2 holes. I was kind of bummed when it was 18 holes and I knew that they were taking those out. I enjoy those 2 holes, but it could be because they're sidearm friendly.
I like them because they're in the woods. Hole 17, this is a long one. I'm not sure I expect any women to get a 2 here, but I do expect all of us to get a 3.
Well, you'd probably be correct on that assumption.
I feel like as long as you land it anywhere in the field and just keep it off the road, you've got a decent chance for a par. So, you know, just try to mash on it as hard as you can and make your upshot a little bit easier. There is a Mando on the right side on a telephone pole, which I don't really feel like comes into play much.
It definitely takes out, I think it takes out the birdie look. I think if you got a huge hyzer, you could potentially get it down there and even skip off the road. So I think it's a really well-placed Mando.
I agree.
And I know that I don't know if you could see it off the tee pad, but you are throwing uphill, and then when it crests the hill actually kind of flattens out a little bit. So you have to be aware and know what distance you're actually able to throw so that you can get the right angle on the disc. Rebecca kind of, I guess she didn't really put the Mando too much into play, but I do like that line. And that plays well for the angle of the hill.
I'm just looking at a flex shot with the boss.
What a boss. Ooh, look at that. Is it coming back?
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Go, go, go. Wow.
Woo!
Now, did you mean to play the road shot?
No, I
Okay.
didn't mean to hang it over that far. But as I've mentioned several times earlier, I'm throwing a bit harder than I do in practice. So, it gets out of the hand and I'm like, whoa, where is that thing going?
I can see you laughing in the background. Oh, man.
Yeah, we saw the spotters giving us the safe arms, like, it's good, it's good.
Such a good feeling to see the spotter do that.
I'm telling you. And then, I'm not sure I've ever even made it that close in a tournament play.
Wow.
So, again, I got up there and I'm like, Paige jump putted it. Maybe I should jump putt it. No, just do your little upshot.
You do you.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wow. What a great run.
It is fun to think like, wow, I could maybe throw this in from right here on this 400-foot hole.
That would have been a heck of a birdie.
And Hailey with an amazing long putt. I like this pin position because it is so close to the road that it's, it really comes into your mind. You have to think about your upshot and be touchy with it. And it's getting close to the finish of the round.
Yeah, you mentally you want to stay strong through these last couple of holes because we are approaching hole 18. And it is actually different this year. It is a combination of 2 holes from last year.
I love it.
I agree. This is a fantastic hole.
It is so fun. Now, this little tunnel tee shot is gustier than you would think. It might look calm, but wow, when you start walking up the tunnel, it feels like 20, 30 mile an hour gusts.
Right about here is where the vortex is. Of
Yeah.
wind coming from 3 different directions.
Yeah. So the best thing is just to land at the top of the hill, and I think this is a very easy 4 for the FPO field. As long as you get a decent tee shot, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to get a 4.
I agree.
So that's really the name of the game, is just, stay out of the woods on the tee shot, and everything else should come together.
Thanks for the confidence, though, Jeff. Appreciate it.
It was so breezy, I just could not decide what to throw here.
And even you can see the hill slopes a little bit too, so you still have to get it. You can't throw it perfectly level. You have to give your disc some height to get up the hill without the wind catching your disc. It's definitely a tricky tee shot, but playing it out to the left, there's not really a whole lot of danger unless you really rip on it. There is a parking lot over there. I don't think most players are really going to reach it.
So, as you can see from the movement of the bushes, it was too windy for that disc choice. So now I'm in the scramble zone. You didn't see here, but I had a bit of difficulty finding my disc. There was probably about 2.5 minutes where all of us were frantically
Wow.
searching, and then a spectator came over and found it at the last second. So
thank you,
I was really
spectator.
thankful for that. Thank you, Cam. That was a beautiful placed shot from Rebecca, just positioning herself at the top left of the hill.
Which even from the top of the hill with a really good drive and the winds and the way that the field is so open, it's still possible to get down somewhere near circle 2, possibly even circle 1. Oh, Hailey with just a little bit of a miscue on that.
She got a good laugh out of herself on that one, which we all laughed with her because, you know, that's all you can do sometimes when that happens. Oopsie. So she fired one down to the field, which should be easy to save par for her from right there. That's about where you want to be for your shots.
Thank you to the spotters again on this hole, especially because you got people coming from hole 11 to 12 that are walking across the fairway, and it kind of gets, you still got people on the hole. So yeah, thank you so much for being up there the whole round. I mean, they were there for till the end, so that was a long day. We really appreciate it.
It's so windy, I couldn't decide if I wanted to throw a high line or a low line. You know, you just never know what the disc is going to do when it's gusty like that. But I opted for the boss and just let it go, see what happens. Which again is fine to save par from the field.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, if you're out in the field, the stream is down there by hole 18's baskets to the left. I like that they moved the basket. I think that was a very smart choice to move it over to the right. Little less danger. It causes you to go for it because it used to be back on that little island, little peninsula right behind the basket. I think there was a tree that fell there though, so they had to move it forward. But really good change on this hole. I think it's a fair par 5 and definitely birdie. I'm curious if there were any eagles on this hole this weekend.
Nice upshot from Rebecca.
There were actually 2 eagles from the MPO field. So shout out. I won't, no spoiler alerts from this lady, but there were 2 on the MPO field.
Using a 150 DX Thunderbird for my
Parrot.
upshot. Happy to make it onto the chips
That
for a
was
no
great.
stress final hole putt.
And that's for par.
Par,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you just proved that you could kind of have a miscue on your drive, just get it up there in position, get it to the field. Par is possible.
Hailey showing us up with her approach that is the closest to the pin. Good finishing putt from Rebecca. It's a great feeling when that final putt goes in. Just want to say thanks to some sponsors for providing coverage for the event, Discmania and Discraft. All of the female competitors really appreciate you helping us out and putting the possibility of the production crews and the film crews out there so we can be filmed and advertised and marketed.
Yep,
We
thank
really,
you.
really appreciate that. Also want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. I'm Holly Finley with Team Innova.
And I'm Ellen Widboom with Team Innova.
Hollin!
Hollin', Widboom. All right, Hailey King leads round 1 going into day 2. Anything's possible. They call it moving day for a reason. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Okay, bye.